This meeting will be recorded, so welcome to the meeting in accordance with state law. We do have a quorum. Is there a motion by the member to suspend the rules?
I'll make a motion that we suspend the.
Laura, your microphone totally cut out.
Sorry. I'll make a motion to suspend the rules to allow participation either electronically or by telephone.
Second.
Okay, Mike, please call the roll.
Knighton,
Aye.
Mangum,
Aye.
Gertis, Biggs,
Aye.
Tristan,
Aye.
Eckersberg,
Aye.
Hank,
Aye.
Cueva,
Aye.
Jones,
Aye.
Sterling,
Aye.
Gertis, Gary, are you there?
Aye. Can you hear me?
All right. Did I miss anybody?
I'm here, Sarah Flax.
Oh, Johanna, you're muted right now.
All right, thank you. I gave everybody all these instructions. Okay, so I just said we have almost 40 people in the meeting. So staff videos on, everyone else videos off, just to make it easier so the videos of staff bubble up. Keep yourself muted if you're not otherwise speaking. In terms of public comment, if you would like to sign up for public comment, please send me a chat message and I will add you to the list. A couple people have already done that. So what we'll do is we'll have the applicant we're going to do one item first for 10 Mile House, but the applicant for 1900 Sherman, I'm guessing that's what the bulk of people are signed up for. We'll take that public comment after the developer has provided an update to the questions that we had last week. We do have a hard stop at 4 o'clock for other meetings. And if you do, for some reason, leave the meeting and want to come back in, just be mindful that not only am I doing the electronic host responsibilities, but monitoring this meeting. So it may take a moment or two to let you back in. Okay, so is there a motion to approve the meeting minutes of August 5th?
So moved. Second.
Mike, call the roll, please.
Knighton,
Aye.
Mangum,
Aye.
Gertis,
Aye.
Biggs, Tristan,
Aye.
Eckersberg,
Aye.
Hank,
Aye.
Cueva,
Aye.
Jones,
Aye.
Sterling,
Abstain.
Biggs. All right.
Okay. I'm gonna guess she agrees, but maybe her microphone isn't working. Okay, so first item, 1700 Central Street, Fred Gales, applicant submits for sidewalk, cafe permit, 10 Mile House, B1A Business District, Central Street overlay. So Fred, I think I saw you here. You ready to tell us about the sidewalk cafe?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
We can.
Great. Thank you for having me. Yeah, so this is just for a sidewalk permit. on the east side of the restaurant. So we would put tables along the sidewalk immediately adjacent to the building, and then also put tables in the parkway immediately to the east of the sidewalk. We do have tables, just to be clear, on the north side of the building, but that's actually an easement, part of the building's property. So we don't need a permit for that. So this is just for the east side of the building. Does that make sense?
Yeah, makes sense to me. Anyone else have any questions?
No, I would just note that the site plan doesn't show it, but the pedestrian pathway has to be a minimum of 6 feet at all locations, kind of a linear pathway. And even though on the north side of the building, yes, you're correct, a permit is not required for that, but that social distancing and pathway is still required.
I'm aware of that. Thank you.
Yes, and so my comment is very similar. The site plan doesn't show the width of the sidewalk on the east side of the building. Do you happen to know what that is?
I don't. I want to say it's 9 feet, if I'm correct. And I'm sorry I didn't include that on my plan. I should have.
I'll just say it does appear that there's adequate sidewalk space, but because we don't have the dimensions of the tables, we can't know for sure. So I'm just reiterating what Gary said, that you have to maintain that 6 foot per pathway.
Okay, perfect. Okay.
It's about 10 feet, Fred, just so you know.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Is there a motion then, if there are no questions from staff?
I'll make a motion for approval for the sidewalk cafe.
Second.
Okay, Mike, please call the roll. Oh, actually, 1 second, I'm sorry. I missed somebody wanted to speak on public comment. Claire, would you like to speak?
Yeah, just very briefly. I think it's great that tables are going to go outdoors. I just want to make a real quick comment that I just discovered this small town in Minnesota, and I think it's worth our city knowing Pine Island that actually rented for its local businesses, because the companies that rent and sell large tents have many now, because many events have been canceled. The city went ahead and invested in tents and renting them for the businesses of its town so that they could continue to stay open. I just wanted to throw that out. I thought it was kind of relevant to this. But
Claire, you must have been in my,
yeah.
I was gonna say, Claire, you must have been in my office today, because I literally was on a phone conversation about something like that.
Really? All right.
Yeah.
Well, it'd be awesome if we would think about that to try to protect our local businesses.
Thank you, Claire. So are you suggesting maybe we put a tent on the east side of the building?
I'm suggesting maybe the city of Evanston could look into providing tents for our businesses, or help, or do something. If you can't do it, like that we look into trying to support our local businesses. Yeah, a tent would be awesome.
Yep, I love it. Thank you.
Sure.
At this time, it's not allowed in the public way, so it would have to be something that the staff takes under consideration.
We're looking at other larger spaces that the city owns to think about tents, like parking lots or other areas. So it's idea in formation right now, but we're looking at what the winter might hold. So Fred, you'll probably get a call from our economic development manager or an email about this. So
Great, thank you. I appreciate everything the city's trying to do to help all of the businesses in Evanston. So love it.
Okay, so I think we were at roll call. So Mike, why don't you start over?
Nyden,
Aye.
Mangum,
Aye.
Gertis,
Aye.
Biggs,
Aye.
Kristen,
Aye.
Eckersberg,
Aye.
Pink,
Aye.
Cueva,
Aye.
Jones,
Aye.
Sterling.
Aye.
All right, great. So Fred, feel free to drop off the call. You don't need to stay for the rest of the items unless you're deeply interested in it. You're welcome to stay.
I am interested, but I will drop out. Thank you very much, everybody, for the approval. Goodbye.
You're welcome. Good luck.
Thanks.
All right,
Bye.
so what we're gonna do is for this item, we'll take a presentation, updated presentation from the applicant. And I don't know who is the person who's on the call advancing the slides, Brian or Greg?
Yes, Brian is here.
Okay, so what are you gonna do? Are you able to share your screen?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so we'll do shared screen. You'll give the presentation, and then we'll maybe I'll take through the remaining items if there are any, and then I'm not sure. I might, depending on how that goes, and staff, feel free to jump in and have any questions, and then maybe we'll take public comment right after that. So, if you've joined the call and you'd like to provide public comment, please send me a chat message indicating, and I will add you to the list. And I've gotten everybody that sent me a chat already. I have Claire Kelly, Linda Boss, Sarah Vanderwicken, Larry Donahue, and Sue Lolbach. So if there's somebody who I didn't call that wants to sign up for public comment, please send me a message, and I'll add you to the list. And I see Tricia Connolly would also like to speak, so we'll have it on the list, and then we'll take those in the order that I received them. So, all right, take it away, Brian or Bill. I don't know whoever's doing it.
I'm on now. Sorry for the delay. So, yeah. So, Greg, you're advancing the slides, are you?
Oh, Brian is.
Brian is. Okay. Okay. Let's go. Let's go to the first one here. Next slide.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Well, actually, the new material is at the end of the presentation, so we just need to go toward from the back. Start with the back.
Yes. Okay.
So this is what we presented last time, and now we're just replying to comments and questions. So I'm not sure what happened with the connectivity. I saw Ben's emails on this, but we can make do here. But just go all the way to the back.
Yep. Working on it.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, so I'm going to speak to this comment here, and I guess I'd like to say that the comments at the last meeting all seem to presume that gee, the building's out of scale, and can you comment on this? And we think it's not out of scale. Yes, it is the tallest building in the immediate area. One building has to be the tallest building. We think the scale of the area has already been established by the 11-story Jane Perlman building, 10-story Link Evanston. Yes, this is 5 stories in a parcel, a 6-story higher, but we don't think that completely is out of scale with the area. There's a variety of heights in the area, from 3-story up to our proposed 16-story building. So I guess I would just want to start with that. And if you look at, I don't know if we have in our presentation a view of a pedestrian from Emerson or Sherman Street to the corner looking at the buildings, and it's really not very perceivable that you can tell that much difference between a 15-story building and a 10 or 11-story building. And we have also used, in terms of the architectural design techniques mentioned in Evanston's design guidelines for planned development, to break up the mass of the building. So whereas the Link building is one kind of architectural mass. We have broken our building up into several planes with different materials, different angles, curvature on some of the massing, so that it breaks the building up much more than a monolithic architectural mass, like frankly the Link building. Brian, can you go to the next slide on our presentation? Okay, we also have significant green space along Emerson and Sherman, which none of the other buildings have. I mean, the Perlman building has, but the Link building has no green space at all. The Sherman Gardens has very, very little green space between the buildings on Emerson and the right-of-way. Buildings on the east side of Sherman have little or no green space. So we think the dedication of green space, which frankly makes us go higher. If we maxed out our footprint right up to the edge of the right-of-way, we could go with a smaller building, I mean a lower building. So we didn't want to do that. We want a beautiful building. We want amenities along the street in terms of green space, streetscape, and so we have set our building back. Also, in terms of the height versus public benefits, it's our understanding that no new building since the adoption of the inclusionary housing ordinance has actually included affordable housing in their buildings. They've all paid the fee in lieu of, and so we're the only one that's actually providing affordable housing. The others comply with the ordinance, but we're actually providing affordable housing, and so that costs money. It obviously costs more money than paying the fee in lieu of. Otherwise, people would have done it. So, from the beginning, we've approached the city with kind of a holistic approach to creating a mixed income building. And I would just ask that the city and this committee review the building in a holistic manner as a mixed income composition, a mixed income building with its whole program, size, scale, green space, and the like. So should we just go through all of these points, and then you want the city, the committee can ask us questions on these, Joanna? Okay, let's go to the next slide. Okay, I'm hoping that we have either Antonio or Bill Grieve from Galt Hamilton on the line with us. Antonio, Bill, are you there?
Hi, Bill.
Is this Bill Grieve?
Yes.
Great. Okay, Bill, can you respond to the question the city had on how we projected parking demand?
Sure. Normally, you'd take a look at the ITE, Institute of Transportation Engineers, parking generation manual, as well as city code. In this instance, there's fairly limited data for the type of land use that's being proposed. And then in addition, there's really no land use variable or variable within the land use, so the ITE manual, that has the opportunity for you to really take a look at the enhanced and vibrant non-auto type uses that are available. In fact, looking at the census data, which we used for the traffic study, 65 to 70% of all trips are going to be non-auto. And that really goes towards the fact that a lot of the residents really don't need to have an auto if they elect not to. So what we tried to do was use the best information that we had, was taking a look at the Jane Perlman apartments and taking a look at what their parking demands were, and use that as a base.
Okay. So I know that the question the city had was, is Jane Perlman building? Yeah, it's a comparable age kind of cohort, but it's affordable. A lot of those people can't afford cars even if they wanted to. How would you respond to that, Bill?
Well, there's also going to be, I believe, a 30% component within this building, yes, for that type of use.
Yes, that's correct.
Even if you take a look at the national standards, even with the City of Evanston code, if we start taking taking a look at the for the 30% disadvantaged or low income or whatever you want to call it on the basis, all of a sudden that the spaces that are needed for the parking demand, whether you're going to be taking a look from ITE multifamily housing in a high rise, or even the city of Evanston code, we start getting in the fact that the spaces that are going to be available, the new spaces, which will be 65, really are comfortable as far as being able to accommodate the projected demand.
Okay, well, we can get comments from the city after the presentation. So let's go to the next slide. And this is Greg O'Brien to respond to this.
Yeah, hi, I'm Greg from the design team. There was a comment about the brick size, and what we're proposing to do is any of the bricks from floors 1 through 3, the lower levels, we would change to Norman size bricks, which are a smaller brick. It's not the utility size. Norman size bricks are about 11 inches long and 2.25 inch tall. So it's the smaller size that you'd be accustomed to seeing. They're a little bit more horizontal too, which makes it a little bit more interesting. We're proposing to do this because it would provide that smaller scale brick at all the pedestrian scale portions of the building. And then the slightly larger brick would be up above where it wouldn't be perceived.
Okay.
Just a quick question on that. Are you talking individual bricks? Or are you talking like a brick panel that would be installed?
We still would need to confirm that, but right now we're assuming it's individual bricks, so it would actually be laid bricks.
Okay, which is preferred.
Yep, for us too.
Okay, let's go to the next slide. Oh, so we have this question about mechanical equipment noise.
Yep, that one we do have Shiner Acoustics as our acoustical engineer on the project, so we are going to make it a part of our specs to assure that whatever design for the screen wall that's surrounding the mechanical equipment would be designed to be adequate to keep the noise level as required by city code. We currently understand that to be keeping the levels below 55 dB as heard from street level. So that's our direction to the acoustical engineer at this point.
Okay, if I could, I'd like to share some information about some of the issues that we are having, and it's not necessarily that decibel level, but it's a pitch that people are hearing from blocks away on some of this equipment. So I'll share that information with you, okay?
Okay, yeah, that'd be great. I appreciate that.
Great. Next slide. The trash pickup question.
There was a question about trash pickup, and this is a little bit of an operational detail, so we didn't add anything to the drawings yet, but how we're proposing to handle trash pickup is that at each floor, we have a pair of chutes that we're proposing within the building. So there would be one chute for trash, one chute for recycling. They're collected at a trash room at the first floor of the building. That trash room would contain several rolling bins that would get switched out as needed as the trash fills up. And then they would coordinate with a pickup service that would roll the bins out on collection days through the loading dock, put the recycling or the trash in the truck, and then put it back inside the building right away. And those pickup times would need to be evaluated based on the utilization, but we would work that out to have the correct number based on how much trash load needs to go out. And that would also be coordinated. Any of the move-ins that would utilize the loading dock, that would be coordinated with the trash pickup so that there's not a conflict.
Great, thanks.
Can we go back to trash for a second? Laura, can you comment on that? Because I think we've had a comment back that we can't have the operator, contractor roll the trash out.
I am not aware of that as a rule. I would have to do a little bit of research with some of our public works staff that are not here.
Okay.
But I will do that.
And then we have a franchise agreement, so you'd have to go with our.
They have to use Groot?
Yes.
And Groot won't take it from inside the building to the truck? Okay.
That is my understanding.
I never liked that arrangement with Groot, but that's another topic.
Well, you're building a building in Evanston, so that's what you get.
Yes, yes. Okay. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Is Alicia or Rich on?
This is Amy Curson, outside counsel for the HACC. I talked to Rich Minacchio earlier today. He had intended to join this meeting, but due to the power outages in the south suburbs, he's unable to join today. He did have to run down to work with some of the residents down there and also help them with the Greater Chicago Food Depository, because many of them did not have access to food. So he sends his regrets. We did, I think that Rich and Sarah have been talking about some of the waiting list issues and other things related to affordable housing in the inclusionary zoning ordinance. Sarah, are you on the line?
I don't think Sarah is.
Sarah was online.
Just
Oh,
getting
there
up.
she is, Sarah.
Yeah. No, we did talk. And one of the things that when there is, we have public funds that have waitlist policies and practices. We do not require the affordable units to be off of the waitlist that SEPA manages, although they can coordinate if it's practical, and sometimes it is. But one of the key things that we've been very successful in doing is when there is a site-based waiting list, you simply mark it in the area and you build your site-based waiting list locally, and that has been proven to be very successful in getting local preference without doing anything that can lead to challenges that could come otherwise from fair housing.
So I think, and Sarah, correct me if I'm wrong, but the missing middle units, which would not be tied to any kind of federal funds, those could be definitely set as a preference for Evanston residents, could they not?
Yes, and those could also come off the wait list.
Okay.
So that could be handled.
Okay.
But the project-based units are very much like all the other, actually Perlman and Walchuk are now project-based units, and they successfully have almost exclusively Evanston residents based on the way those wait lists have been managed.
Okay, so it appears that this is not going to be an issue, that it will be predominantly Evanston residents who occupy the building. Would you agree, Sarah?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, great. Glad we've resolved that. Let's move to the next slide, please. Bird-friendly details. Greg? Greg, are you with us?
Gotcha. Yep. Sorry, I was on mute. There's a few things we'll be doing to deal with the bird-friendly ordinance. One thing we'll be doing that's some of the mitigation is that any exterior lighting. There's a time frame during the spring and fall mitigations that will be turning out the lights or dimming during certain hours to make sure that doesn't interfere with the migrations. And then in terms of the building itself, we're going to be looking at a glass treatment in a few different areas. It's our understanding that starting with all glass that's at 40 foot or below, we would be having a glass treatment on those panes of glass. That would be the first level glass, and then a couple of floors above that for all the residential windows. We're looking at applying this treatment to all of the glass balcony railings at the individual balconies of the units. There was a comment about the potential to have some vegetation or plants on those balconies and to not have any issues with that. And additionally, because there would be some vegetation up on the amenity deck up on the 15th floor, we're also looking at the glass railing that would be facing outward at that deck, and also any of the glass that is facing that deck would also have this treatment. And in terms of the treatment, we're still exploring there's a number of different options to meet the credits. It could be a matter of a frit pattern. There's also a few manufacturers that are doing some glazing that have a UV pattern that birds can see and people tend to not be able to see. So we're looking at a few different options on how to provide that, but that's what we're showing at this point.
Okay, thank you. Next slide. native plants. We have Mijay or someone else from Site Design Group on the call.
Hi everyone, this is Mijay with Site Design Group. So to address Bird Friendly Evanston's comments regarding providing more US native plants within our plant selections for this project, in addition to a commitment to not using pesticides, including neonicotinoids, we can address this. Brian, can you just flip to page 39 of the document? Yep, so this is our schedule. So we've updated the plant schedule. So we will revise, continue to work on revising the actual plant design. But we are going to select species to favor more native species that are beneficial to host plants for pollinators. So Brian, if you could swap to the next slides down, flip through the images. Yep, so we've introduced, you can go past this one to introducing more US native plants. In addition to this, the plant schedule will also make note that all plant material shall be free of pesticides and neonicotinoids and be sourced from nurseries such as Possibility Place accordingly.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
On this note, I'd also like to add a comment that talking with our city arborist, that they're interested in really encouraging area native plants, that they would like to have at least roughly 75% of the plantings on site be native. But because this may be a change to what feedback you have, he was feeling that this would be more appropriate to really review your landscape plan around the time of the building permit application.
Okay. Yep.
And finalize it at that point.
Definitely, yeah. Well, then that way our plant schedule plus the plant identity on the plans will be all synced.
Yes. And then just one other comment, since we're on landscaping, he just reiterated the importance of protecting that blue spruce tree, that's really a valuable tree.
And we have had conversations with the city arborist on that point, and he issued some recommendations, and we're in agreement, and we will use best practices to preserve the tree.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go to the next slide then. Okay, let's get past this. Okay. I mean, I'm not quite sure. This seems like a very detailed question. I think we will address utilities and including certain water services and all other utilities underground and overhead, you know, at the time of the permit application. Gregor, I don't know if Ray's on the line. Does anybody have an additional comment on this?
Assuming Ray's not on the line, no, I don't think we do. I think what you're saying is exactly what we need to do. We'll sort out what we need to do to accommodate
matters. We understand there's some complications, but it can't really be worked out at this stage. We have to get into more detail when we actually develop construction documents and are at the permit stage.
Okay, I would just hesitate because currently where you're showing your mechanical room is not on a side of the building where the water service can come from. And the water service has to have a meter inside the building located within 5 feet of the location it enters the building. So this may affect your concept plan as you rework this.
Okay, so water service needs to be within 5 feet of the exterior wall is what you're saying?
Where the water service enters the building, there must be a water meter inside the building within 5 feet of where it enters the building. Okay. So
our understanding is that can be located in the basement, correct?
It can be located in the basement.
Okay. Our MEP engineer, RTM, is aware of that, and we're looking at one of the rooms at the basement along the south wall right now. Okay. So we're aware it needs to be within that 5 feet. And the basement does extend underneath the planted area, so we should be able to accommodate that.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, we understand. This is Brian from Papa George. We understand, you know, the rules and the requirements from the city of Evanston, and we are working with our engineers to resolve all these items. And we understand that everything has to come, you know, from what street everything has to come. So we're working through that. We just don't have anything finalized at this point.
Okay.
Just to add that the zoning ordinance requires certain plan developments to provide, if possible, underground installation of utilities.
Okay, correct.
Yeah, you're talking about private utilities?
Yeah, including electricity and telephone, both in public ways and private extensions thereof.
Okay.
Okay, we'll work through that. Next slide, please.
This one's regarding the garage and loading doors. What we're taking a look at now, we had previously indicated a metal rolling door that would be painted a color to complement the building. We're now looking at a slight upgrade to the doors. There's a particular couple of manufacturers that create these doors that are polycarbonate window slats that have metal in between. So it's effectively the polycarbonate looks like a frosted glass door. So there would be thin panels of polycarbonate with probably a dark analyzed gray aluminum slats in between that. And we would use that for both doors. And the color that would be color coordinated with what we have for some of the trim and metal work on the building.
So this was responding to the idea that if we could get a door that has more translucency in it, more glass perhaps in it, and we're addressing that by having a door that will have some translucency and be able to have some light that comes through the door.
Okay, next slide. And I've asked Bill from Gold Hamilton to address this. Bill, are you on the line?
Sure. You know, the first bullet point, as you're heading out of the alley, you know, there really is no concern with sight lines. The Link building to the west, you can see, especially since there's no parking on the north side for a bit. And the way that the building is designed, our building is designed, you've got, I believe, about a 12-foot separation from the sidewalk to the building, which provides ample sight lines. The next bullet point, as far as traffic volumes, Emerson just isn't that busy for the size of the street as it is. The peak hour traffic volumes during the morning and the evening are less than 300 vehicles per hour combined in both directions. You know, the other thing to think about is that with the type of expected resident, that they're really not going to be generating a lot of traffic during the peak hours. Perhaps about one car every 2 minutes. And, you know, as the third bullet mentions, that we expect the vast majority of those cars to be kind of headed to Emerson rather than to Foster, because we believe the trips are going to be, for the most part, oriented to and from more towards the downtown than north of downtown. Finally, the one other thing that I wanted to bring up was that well, actually, we pointed that out before with the garage, with the access and the safety features of it. So that's pretty much it for this slide.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I had a couple of notes on that. One, by pulling the building further back from the sidewalk along Emerson, that you are allowing to have a better sight line, but you have trees shown on your plan that are potential things that could reduce the sight lines. So it's important just to make sure that as we finalize the landscape plan, that we select trees, that the canopy does not start until 5-6 feet up to provide that view of pedestrians and cross traffic. Mm. The other thing I would suggest is that you look at lighting in the alley and make sure that there's adequate lighting along your building in the alley. We do not ever encourage pedestrians to walk in an alley. In this particular alley, there are pedestrians that historically have walked in this alley. It just is a question of making sure that you're keeping things as safe as you can.
For example, about the dozen of them that I saw this morning when I went there just to take a quick visit.
Yes, and there's not going to be a lot of additional traffic generated by the building. I mean, we have in this alley because we have 38 spaces in our underground garage. We'll have some deliveries, but it's not like we're going to add a whole bunch of traffic to this alley. I just wanted to point that out.
Thank you.
Okay, next slide, please. Greg?
There was a question about sustainability, and I believe the person who would be responsible for that wasn't on the last call, but we did want to respond by saying that we are agreeing to have the building have a LEED Silver rating. We haven't finalized how we're meeting all of those points yet, but that is our intention for the building. We do have a LEED consultant on board, and all of our consultants are geared up to provide this. Additionally, one of the points we're taking a look at is exploring an electric power provider that would provide 100% renewable energy. We're still looking at how that would pan out, but that's one of the things that we're definitely taking a look at in addition to the LEED Silver rating for the building. Our whole team has a really strong commitment to a sustainable building. Our firm is a part of the IA 2030 commitment, so it's important to us to provide this.
I do want to say that if sustainability and 100% electric building works contrary to affordability, that would be kind of a catch-22 for us, because it would increase costs on our affordable component that we wouldn't want to saddle them with. So next slide, please.
Oh, sorry, more comments. So our sustainability coordinator typically does request that you describe a plan for dealing with recycling and composting as well. A number of the newer developments that have gone in have tried to, or have developed composting programs for their residents and contracted with a commercial composter to remove the food waste.
Okay, we'll be happy to work with the city on that.
We also typically ask that at least some of the parking spaces be provided as electric charging stations for sustainability reasons, and that generally speaking, the design be such to accommodate expansion of the electric charging stations for cars without having to do major rework, whether that's pre-installing conduit that's poured in place concrete or whatever, just to make it an easy expansion as the country moves to more electric vehicles.
Okay, I think that's
we're very familiar with providing that on projects, so that would be easy to accommodate.
Thank you.
Laura, I had another comment concerning parking. Given the fact that you're only providing 37 spaces in the parking garage, I would want to ask that you make sure that that's going to be enough for this project, and if it isn't, that you would consider leasing spaces from the city at the 1800 Maple Street parking garage, and that also residents of this facility would not be eligible to receive existing neighborhood parking permits for the G and A residential parking district, because of the density of the building, it would potentially flood the existing residential parking district.
Okay, so in our attachment to the application, we provided a letter from a nearby building. I'm forgetting exactly which building it is, but we have a commitment to lease 50 spaces from that building. The ownership of the building will provide for all of the parking demand that will exist on the building. So we do believe there is a surplus of structured parking in the area. We've identified, we have a commitment of 50 spaces in another building. Happy to consider leasing spaces from the city's parking garage if we have demand, and we can give our citizens a choice of where they would like to lease spaces from. But we feel it's wasteful and inefficient to build additional underground parking spaces when there's a surplus of demand in the immediate area. But we will provide
for off-site parking. It was identified as E2.
E2, that's correct. E2. Thank you, Scott.
Understood. I just wanted to make sure that you had options, and I just wanted to make the residential districts, make you aware of the residential districts.
Yes, and we will not seek to have our residents park on the street.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right. There's a question about open space, existing versus proposed.
Yeah, and Brian, I think you're scrolling up to 17, page 17 on the presentation.
So Bill, I think you're almost done here. Are you guys, I'm sorry, this is the last slide for the response, right?
I think there's one more. There's one more.
Okay, because I just want to, I have a handful of public comment. We do have a hard stop in about 30 minutes. So I just want to try to
So
get through everything.
Let's be concise here.
Okay, I can keep this response quick. The open space that's currently on the site, that's green space, is almost the same square footage as what we're providing with the amenity in the park in the front of the building at this point. The
So
slide showing the two green areas side by side.
There's no loss of open space on the site. Very little. Okay.
It's about a 300 square foot difference.
Let's go to our last slide. There was a question about, I guess we have two more slides, a current occupancy rate. And I thought that Rich or Alicia were going to address this. I think we really looked at affordable housing occupancy within the area. We did obviously a market study, which was provided as a attachment to our application that demonstrates that there's overall demand for additional apartments in the area. And I mean, we won't go reference that document, but we believe that there is ample demand, and particularly demand for the affordable units and missing middle units that we're providing. Let's go to the next slide. Okay, here we have, I guess, an excerpt from the market study showing expected absorption in, I guess, the first 14 months after occupancy, and a projection of absorption of 8.5 units per month, and stabilization within 14 months. It will be fully leased up in 14 months. Next slide. Okay, in lieu of being concise, I think we won't go over these in detail, but suffice it to say, we have evidence of strong demand for the building. Let's go to the last slide. One after this. I believe there was a question about need, and I'm not sure if this is all balled together, but need for elderly housing. So elderly housing is really not subject to need the same way that, say, a skilled nursing facility is, where we need a certificate of need from the state of Illinois. So this is a preference. Persons 55 or older who prefer to live in an age-restricted building. And we feel that, and our market study backs this up, that there is, in fact, a demand. And we have a somewhat aging population. We have a population of people living in their homes into retirement, and then wanting to switch to a more maintenance-free kind of lifestyle in a building like the one we're proposing. So it is not a question of need, but a question of preference. And there are really, I don't think there's another building that would be quite like the one we're proposing. Age-restricted, active adult occupancy on the edge of downtown. So let's see, I think that concludes the questions that we were asked to respond to.
I have a few additional comments, and I will also be similarly concise because I'm not sure that you'll be able to really have answers to these today. One is, I was looking at your drawings. I wasn't quite clear what the sidewalk width on Emerson is. I think it's 8 feet, but of course, we're very interested in what that actually is. So please make sure you provide a generously wide sidewalk on Emerson, as I expect that you will have a lot of pedestrian traffic.
Are you suggesting that we increase the sidewalk width, the public sidewalk width, or dedicate more right of way, or what is the?
I think if you are at 8 feet, that is fine. It was not entirely clear. I found in one location a tiny dimension. I think it was 8 feet. So I just want to make clear that 8 feet is the sidewalk dimension along Emerson.
We have this, hi, sorry, this is Mijay with Site Design Group. We do have this in our landscape plan, and it is 8 feet according to the survey.
Great, thank you. Second, There's really a lack of streetlights along both Emerson and Sheridan adjacent to this property. As you reconfigure the parkway, I think that you're going to need to add some townage lights and provide some photometrics. The city has a streetlight master plan that governs what street lighting is supposed to look like. And we can get you the information on the streetlight master plan. The third thing is the construction schedule. The city of Evanston, this is informational for you. The city of Evanston is in design on a major 30-inch transmission main project that goes down Sherman and turns on to Emerson. So you are right in the sweet spot there. That project, depending on funding availability, because we are seeking outside funding for that, is expected to be constructed in 2021 or 2022. That's all.
Okay.
All right, so we have a couple people signed up, several people signed up for public comments. So I'm going to time it. If you could keep your comments to 2 minutes, that would be appreciated. I will let you know when the 2 minutes is up. But please keep in mind that 2 minutes keeps it so everyone else can speak. So first up, Claire Kelly.
Thank you. Though 2 minutes seems a little bit short, given how many people do we have speaking? I mean, I feel like because we use the
Claire,
time,
we have a hard
should
stop
still...
at 4. We're going to lose quorum at 4, so that's our issue right now.
Right, but I mean, I feel like we're being, because everybody
Claire,
spoke.
let's just try to. I'll let you go over too.
Okay.
So just go.
Okay. All right. So anyway, I'm still very concerned about the style, the structure, the design, and the non-adherence to our zoning. As we all know, zoning is there for a reason, for many reasons, to impact quality of living, aesthetics, safety, and many others, and not to create more wind canyons. And I do want to challenge your market study I feel like our city needs to do its own regarding need and demand for this type of a building. I mean, frequently we can look to banks as sort of bellwethers with regard to lending. And right now, numerous money centers have already announced in their earnings calls that they've placed a moratorium on commercial real estate loans due to the unexpected shakeout from COVID. And I mean, occupancy rates are falling and they will continue to plummet, and senior living facilities are expected to be dramatically affected. Seniors are not so much wanting to live in densely populated apartment condos anymore. This is what's happening right now. Lenders are already expecting a reckoning for this asset class. So I think we really need to seriously consider, is this genuinely something that Evanston really needs, and is the demand there? And I believe our city of Evanston needs to do its due diligence to research that and not just rely on the developers coming in, say, here are my statistics and go with that. And I also feel it's really important that these are, huge variances that they're asking for. And again, the scale and the structure just simply does not fit with the neighborhood. I live in the neighborhood. And I also feel it's irresponsible and kind of inappropriate to use our low-income population and our very serious need for affordable housing as the excuse for such, violations from our zoning. The city of Evanston has not been effective in providing for affordable, in overseeing affordable housing. Affordable housing should be dispersed throughout the city and not jammed into a high rise of luxury units. This is not the appropriate way to deal with affordable housing units. And even with Sarah, with regard to the Affordable Housing Act, we can both prioritize Evanstonians and comply with the Affordable Housing Act. So I do question some of your rationale for saying that we can't prioritize Evanston residents. I also just want to say that, and the fee in lieu, when they mention in other buildings, that's entirely our city and our city council's decision. When we have planned developments, and developments asking for variances, we can ask for anything we want. We do not have to accept fees in lieu. We could have insisted on affordable housing on site with past developments. So again, I'm going to say that I feel like this is really not appropriate, based on need and demand. People, elderly are, it's precisely, density is what has put our most popular, our most vulnerable populations at risk, is density. There is not a trend now. This is not true. The trend is not for people for senior people to want to move into densely populated elevator buildings. It'd be more appropriate to have more of these placed throughout Evanston if there's a need, smaller buildings where, while one is able to have both easily walk up and, you know, of course you have to have some elevator, but where you don't have these high rises. People are not looking to live in densely populated senior living at this point.
All right,
During this
Claire, I'd like
pandemic.
3 minutes now, so wrap it up, please.
Okay, so I just want us to seriously consider this. I want the city officials, everybody else to consider that this does not fit in with the zoning. I ask that we do our own due diligence regard to need and demand, and seriously consider the surrounding neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you. Linda Del Bos.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. First and foremost, I was recording myself just to make sure I get this timing right. First and foremost, I just want to say thank you to the Cook County Housing Authority for actually coming into the Evanston area and working with our Evanstonians and residents to look for options for living. I've worked in the senior market and continue to work in the senior market. This will be my 18th year. Coming from Texas in the senior market. So I have seen, as you know, Texas is well known for senior mixed house living throughout the Dallas-Fort Worth County and the surrounding cities. So knowing that our seniors are looking for options to downsize, this does provide an opportunity for them to downsize. And they do want to live in somewhere that's nice, and they do want to also be in affordable housing. So you're giving them those options, which is good. Which I'm only concerned about are two things. Of course, is the structure of the building and parking. So I understand that E2 does have spaces. They have 3 levels. There is spaces available. Not all the residents take up that, but we need to look into parking, because if it's seniors, if this is a mixed senior housing, in the winter, they're not going to want to walk from across the street. And it's, you know, it's a nice little walk between E2 and where you're located at. So you got to consider the weather. You've got to consider the physical ability of them. And I know you say maybe 1 out of 3 units will have a car, but still the statistics show that they're over the age of 65. They're not going to want to be in the weather. So please look at the parking. There's a lot of lot there that you're looking to, I guess, shared space for people to come together. You know, the Albion down the street had that same concept, and not a lot of people are gathering for when there's COVID, but I don't know. We have over 70 parks in Evanston, and all of them are being used. Is there any way that we can look at restructuring the parking spaces? And those are the 2 things. So just the parking, and there is need for senior housing, and I appreciate y'all coming in and working on that. Just the style and the structure of the building is a little off from where we're here in Evanston. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Sarah Vanderwicken.
Thanks. I live in the Sherman Garden Apartments right across the street from Perelman, and this proposed addition. Cook County Housing Authority staff came to a meeting of residents at Sherman Gardens last February and discussed their plans for the addition. Some residents raised the usual questions about parking and increased traffic and the blocking of views that the development might bring. And there was no longing for the inevitable noise and stress of the construction. But there was a generally favorable reaction to the plans, particularly in light of the substantial increase in the number of affordable homes for senior citizens that it would bring to Evanston. The current Perelman residents have been good neighbors, and we think these new residents would also be. I want to have a couple of additional reasons to support this. Because the Housing Authority is financing this project, the whole process will be less drawn out and difficult than it has been with other planned developments in recent years. Since they own the land, it's likely something's going to be built on it. And this provides such a tremendous social benefit that it really outweighs other, likely uses for the land. The city's support for this project and help in making it success may provide a model and encouragement for future developers to include more units affordable to lower income people. And in terms of the height, my building is 7 stories high. And so we're, when you look south, from where the Perlman units will be to the city, the downtown, it's a gradation. It's not any huge, massive change in terms of like the general sight lines, I don't think. In terms of parking, we have a parking lot that is just north of the link. And so I walk down that alley all the time. It's total, I mean, I came from Chicago where I was really worried about walking around at night in alleys. I walk from the L down that alley, not infrequently.
Sarah, we're almost at 3 minutes. If you wouldn't mind wrapping it up.
Oh, yes, sure. Okay. I just want to say that I don't think the parking and traffic, not that many people use the alley, even with our parking. We have however many 90 units or 90 spaces or something. It's not used that often.
Great.
The alley is not used that often.
Thank you. Larry O'Donoghue, you still on there?
Yes, hi, I'm here. My name is Larry Donahue, and I'm the chair of Evanston's Housing and Homelessness Commission, and I strongly support this project. Among the benefits that I see are the project will provide a significant number of new affordable units for seniors in Evanston. The project is self-sustaining financially as it's mixed income, and hence will require no ongoing financial contribution from the city. And third, the project should help downtown Evanston businesses, as the residents are only a short walk from many downtown businesses. So those are a few of the benefits that I see, but no project is without its drawbacks. And one drawback that has been raised is the building's proposed height of 16 stories. This is a legitimate concern and needs to be discussed fully. My view of the issue of height is this. Evanston is a very attractive and vibrant place to live. Many people want to move here, but there are very limited opportunities to build new housing. The demand for housing, combined with the limited supply, has been forcing up rental rates and housing prices for a number of years. And if we truly believe in increasing the amount of affordable housing in Evanston, something has to give. We can't continue to say on the one hand that we support affordable housing, and on the other, we need to maintain our current restrictions on height. I think we need to allow for greater density in Evanston. Relaxing the constraint on building height for buildings near downtown is one important way to do this. I think it should be done in a thoughtful way by planning this and formally establishing a new height envelope in and near downtown. But that will take some time. As we have a live project here that requires a decision, I believe this project should move forward as planned, all 16 stories, because of the above benefits that I've mentioned. Thank you all.
Great, thank you. Just in 2 minutes, very good, Larry.
Johanna, I just want to mention,
Linda, I really need to get to the next one.
I know. I just want to let you know that as publisher of Evanston Woman Magazine, though, just to clarify, that I'm not for this unit currently right now because I just got a message that the other 2 buildings that are senior housing that do opt in, they're not even close full. So I think we need to re-strategize with that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, Sue Lobach's up next.
Great. So thank you. I'm Sue Lolbach. I work at Connections for the Homeless and run a coalition called Joining Forces for Affordable Housing. I wanted to say that Joining Forces actively and enthusiastically supports approval of this project and the variations requested. We're interested in this project primarily because it will create a significant new pool of deeply affordable units, which are desperately needed. The Age-Friendly Evanston Committee, now part of Joining Forces, did a study a couple years ago that amply showed the need for all types of senior housing and mixed income buildings are proving to be an innovation that successfully provides affordable units in buildings that people at all different income levels find appealing. This location is unique and we believe it should be treated as such. It is rare to have a space available in which to build something like this, and we applaud the Housing Authority of Cook County for trying to make the most of it and daring to push on the size in order to increase the number of affordable units. Joining Forces believes that until there is enough affordable housing available in the community, change like this should be the norm, and variances that can be responsibly implemented to increase affordability should be welcomed. We believe that maintaining the status quo will be ineffective, insufficient, and short-sighted, and will perpetuate the part of the city's character that includes poverty and segregation. This building represents a much-needed change, and we hope that you and the City Council will support it as proposed here today. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Last, Tricia Connolly.
Hello.
Tricia, are you there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes, thank you.
So a couple of thoughts. First, obviously a lot of time, energy, effort has gone into this plan. The problem that seems to follow us in Evanston through these developments remains primarily the same. And though we love to claim that we're YIMBYs, yes, in my backyard, not NIMBYs, not in my backyard, we do things in these developments that really speak to being NIMBYs. We are interested primarily in introducing luxury housing in Evanston and throwing in a few bones for people who live on the margins or have some problem with paying market-based rent. And it's not enough. And although I understand, it's clear that, we have to do different things to try and accommodate, we are in a serious situation here, as we know, not just here in Evanston, but around the country. And some cities are actually rolling up their sleeves and inviting developers to do more substantial affordable housing. My question is, what is Evanston going to do in this way? Throwing some native plants on a plot next to a 16-story building is not reducing a footprint. That is just ridiculous. And to act like those kinds of little benefits are so great for everyone and that we're really getting somewhere in all of this, when we know we have a lot of people who need housing and the rents are beyond belief. And we say, okay, well, we got 34 units and, mostly it's luxury housing. Oh, good for us. I hope we're taking a step back and really thinking about this. And I hope our city that we pay to do the good work is actually going to push for something much greater than this. Thank you for your time.
Okay, great. Thank you, everybody. Are there any comments or questions from staff?
Just a couple quick comments to respond to the presentation, just clear up a couple of the numbers in there. The Avador development, I think it was mentioned it had 80 units. I think it's a 169 unit building actually. And then it was mentioned that none of the downtown developments have provided on-site housing. Albion and Avador both provided on-site affordable housing, although not fully to what the previous IHO required. So just want to clear those things up. Generally, I think the design is a high quality design of the building, and I appreciate the refinements that have been made by the design team. To me, it still comes down to the public benefits and the height. Again, 97 feet being the maximum development allowance in the C1A, 103 feet being the height of the Link building adjacent versus 173 feet, 172.8 that's being proposed in the development. And then, it was a lot different proposal when, a year ago, 50% of the units were proposed to be missing middle or 80 to 120% of AMI, where now that's 10% of the units. So I think that shifted things a little bit as far as the proposed public benefits being provided, although I understand difficulties of financing a project. Thanks.
Any other staff comments or questions?
If there are none, then I'd like to make a motion for a positive recommendation to the Plan Commission for the proposed plan development at 1900 Sherman, inclusive of the staff comments we've made here at Dapper.
Is there a second? Turn your microphone on if there is.
I'll second it.
Sarah, you can't second it.
I know. Well, I guess I'm not a regular member, so.
You're a non-voting member. So is there a voting member that would like to second the motion?
I'll second it.
Jessica is seconding it. Okay. Mike, please call the roll.
Knighton,
Aye.
Mangum,
No.
Gertis,
Aye.
Biggs,
Aye.
Tristan,
Aye.
Eckersberg,
Aye.
Heinck,
Aye.
Cueva,
Aye.
Jones,
No.
Sterling,
No.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3. So that's 7 ayes and 3 nays.
Okay. So that's a positive recommendation to the Plan Commission. And when is this scheduled to go to the Plan Commission?
Likely the September meeting.
Okay. Is that the second Wednesday of the month? Did we confirm that that doesn't conflict with the Jewish holidays?
I do not believe there's a conflict in that date, so that would be
So it's the second Wednesday?
September 9th, yes.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Any further questions or comments about the development can be sent to Megan Jones, mmjones@cityofelvanston.org. Is there a motion to adjourn? One more thing before we adjourn. There is no meeting due to lack of quorum next week. So we've already sent the notice of cancellation, so no meeting next week.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good rest of your day.
Thank you.